Saporista are proud sponsors of the Wonderbird Show. Treat yourself to the wonderful taste of the Mediterranean, supplied by local artisans.
Morning, darling.
Hello.
Sunshine.
Greetings. Scorchio.
Scorchio, what about it, eh?
Yep, I've got a right bead on, a right river in my valley, and what we commonly call UTS. That's right, it's a weekend of under tit sweat.
Oh. What are you going to do this weekend?
What's that? Well, I'm heading down to see some friends for a bit of a caper on the river. This might be kayaking, actually, this weekend.
Oh, no.
Whoa.
No.
That's amazing.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was billed as fish and chips on a boat by the river. Now, I've never eaten fish and chips on a kayak before. I thought we were doing some kind of river cruise and stuff.
Oh,
I was braced for paper plates and plastic cutlery, and dare I say it, possibly a buffet one had to queue for with a teak effect tray. But a kayak, I wasn't girded.
No, darling.
Oh.
See, I haven't been out on the water in years, obviously. I mean, when we were kids, and it was this hot, when we were growing up in Aberdeenshire, we'd get those sort of tractor inner tubes or rubber inner tubes, you know what I mean? And we just scoot down there. It was the River Don, and we just bob up and down on one of those, of course. I mean, they let us do everything then. There was no such thing as health and safety, of course. And you might snag a limb or two on a shopping trolley or something.
Whatever.
But, you know, we just glanced across it back then, didn't we? Goes, a little bit of tetanus, don't worry about it. Take a deep breath, it'll be fine. So I used to love those days, and you'd always end up with, you know, gravel up your bum and goodness knows what else, because the river wasn't that deep. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. So I am hoping to be able to talk to you again very soon if I survive the weekend.
Exciting.
Now from my mother's though, so we're not alone. You know, I've done the show from Mum before, so I came up to see her before I went away, and I mean it's this stuff. It's terrifying.
Oh, that's so pretty.
Yeah, well, I feel a gift coming on then. Is
it porcelain, Richard?
No. This
Plastic.
Full plastic.
Full plastic. Look at the eyes.
They are scary, aren't they?
Has she got several? Has she got more than one, darling?
I think this one might be musical. I've lost her bonnet. Oh, look, breaking. Richard Arnold playing with a doll. Who knew?
Who knew? It'll be out there now.
It'll be out there now. Everything we do on this show is out there forever.
It certainly is.
All the way,
Scary.
all the way to Mars. So yeah, on the river this weekend. What else has been happening this week? Well, I could finally announce to the world that I have a starring role in the new Paw Patrol movie. It is the first ever Paw Patrol movie. And of course, we've ripened in age to the point where we probably don't have children in our lives who watch the animated TV series that's very popular.
I do.
Okay, so we know.
I know all about Paw Patrol. I have two grandsons, aged 1 7 and 1 3, and they are Paw Patrol maniacs, so I know all about Paw Patrol.
Well, August 9th is a date for you to hold yourself wide open with a firm pencil, Debbie, with your grandchildren.
Oh my goodness!
That's
and I hear, Richard, that it's going to be a very much like you, a very strong man with big muscles.
Yes, that's right. I do. I play this sort of. He's got this vest on. He's very buff. He's called Tough Guy. I don't want to. Spoil it for everybody because I know it's going to tilt your world on its axis.
It's very strange casting, I have to say.
Well, I've got a very wide range.
Well, that's what I've heard, but
I've heard about the but I think
as I am very thin across so many mediums. So yeah, Tough Guy. So I'm not playing one of the dogs. I'm playing a chap who gets collared by the Paw Patrol for littering the underground in Adventure City, but I'm not going to tell you any more.
No more spoilers.
Did you enjoy doing it, Richard?
I did, because when I was the voice of Nosy Smurf in Smurfs the Lost Village, which was a huge triumph. Normally with animation, as I know you'll be aware, is they sort of design the character around you, but with something like this, they just shoehorn in local talent to voice characters that have been sketched in the States and thrown together there. So Smurf, The Lost Village was a triumph. I had one line that repeated throughout the entire film, and it was, "Oh, what's going on here then?" So I was basically with binoculars, and Nosy Smurf would always look through the windows of all the Smurf houses to see what was going on. So yeah, slightly unsettling. And they did say that I had to take it a little less, well, literally, in other words, a little less Frankie Howard, because it's it was all about, oh, what's going on here?
Oh,
Whereas Tough Guy does exactly what he says on the tin, and I do love the process. It's incredible, really. So who else is in it? Ronan Keating, Tom Fletcher, Sam Fears,
Fabulous,
and some lesser known turn called Kim Kardashian and the chat show king Jimmy Kimmel from across the pond.
No, I've not heard.
Oh my God!
Between Us Girls in the Nest. It's a minor role, but you've got to give it the sizzle, right? Doesn't matter the size of the sausage. It kind of does, but yeah. The bigger the sizzle, right, you'll get the bums on seats. So yeah, I think that's the first piece.
You must be watching Paw Patrol, girls, because of your grandson.
I watch everything that Rosie watches, to be honest. She's hooked on Mr. Bean at 2 years old. She just loves Mr. Bean, so we endlessly watch Bean.
But my grandson, my youngest grandson, is his dad is Swedish, so Mons makes him watch Swedish TV. So whereas Archie, so he'll watch Paw Patrol, but he'll watch it in Swedish, and Peppa Pig he watches in Swedish. So I think it's really good because they just put the Swedish version on for him.
Yeah.
Like Swedish, so they have Swedish TV. But I think it's really interesting. So he knows all the characters. He speaks in English. So when he speaks to my daughter, my grandson, he speaks to her in English, and when he speaks to his dad, he speaks to him in Swedish.
Wow!
And he's only 3, so instantly, it's very clever, isn't it?
Very.
It's always really cute when you see toddlers speaking in another language, even if it's tongue.
Very important.
Clever.
Yes.
How clever. So, ladies, have any of you ever seen yourself being dubbed in another language?
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, many times. But the weird thing was, the strangest dub that I've ever had to do was myself. Because I did a film many years ago, directed by Clive Donner. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
And it was just died. It was just a crazy. Yeah. It was directed by Clive Donner, and it was Oliver Twist. And George C. Scott was playing Fagin, don't ask, long time ago. So my character was the girlfriend of Noah Claypole, the guy who made the coffins.
Oh yes.
And so in it, she spoke like that. You see, she was a bit of one of those. And when it went to America, they said we can't understand her, so they got me back in to dub myself without the accent like that, which is very hard because your mouth was doing different things.
Yeah.
So we had to say go down the road. It was go down the road, and so I go down the road. I couldn't match myself. No. I was also quite. I couldn't stop watching myself either, as you are, because you're seeing yourself on the big screen for the first time like that, and then you're trying to dub yourself, and in the end they had to get someone else to dub me because I couldn't dub myself.
Gosh,
because I one of my lines was in Paw Patrol the movie, August 9th.
Mic drop.
Wiener dog, and they obviously wanted me to say sausage dog if possible, because it's for British audiences, but you can't get. Well, believe me, I've been around the block once or twice, but there's no way you're getting a sausage in a wiener. The lips move in a completely different way. H, you must have been dubbed in loads of languages for Ab Fab, darling.
For all for Ab Fab. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just weird and also wonderful. And also I did this separately film with Elizabeth Taylor. I think I've told you 100 times, and here's the 101st. And so it was weird to see me in Italian, doing that whole thing was so weird as well.
It's so passionate.
See, unlike myself. Yes. I remember doing a series with Wendy Craig called Mother Makes Five when I was very young.
Oh yeah.
And it was the late 70s, and I was very young. I was almost not born, darling, but I have to admit I was grown up, nearly. Anyway, playing her son's girlfriend, it was a true story that she and her husband had written about this girl that comes to the house. She's really common. And she goes, they say, would you like a drink? She said, yeah, I'll have a large brandy. Thank you very much. So that was the thing. Anyway, I was in Spain on holiday and I saw it being played with another voice in Spanish.
So weird.
It was very weird.
Yeah.
Been dubbed in Spanish.
Yeah,
So, you know, I can't remember what he said.
I've done quite a lot of dubbing through the years, but the weirdest one I ever had to do was dub an Indian film, which was a sex film. But
I knew we were going to get there with you.
Didn't take long, dear.
It wasn't a pornographic film. It was like just a sexy thing. So she had to do all these things like, you know, like having orgasms, but you couldn't see anything. It was really funny. And again, it's because they're saying it in Indian and they're not saying it in English. And then you have to get, as you said, a wiener and a sausage. It's very hard to get the voices to fit, isn't it? It's
hysterical. Sherry, what about you, darling?
Well, I've had lots of dubs, but I think the most embarrassing dub I ever had was dubbing myself on The Slipper and the Rose, because I remember we were in Salzburg and Brian Forbes said to me one night, he said, I'm going to take you, because it was 35mm, big camera, I'm going to take you to see the Rushers tonight, just you and me. I went, oh, all right, Nottingham now. And so we went to the Rushers. And first of all, he said, first of all, I'm going to show you Kenneth More. And so we watched Kenneth More and he said, tell me what he did. I said, nothing. He said, absolutely, perfectly, nothing. And you really believed him, didn't you? You looked at his eyes and said, yes. He said, now I'm going to show you. No. And I was going, well, I did it. And he said, now, this is called heavy gurning. Have you heard of that? And I said, no. And he said, well, what's your bed? He said, that's called gurning, and that doesn't work. So I'm going to make you do it all again. And I had to dub my voice and relax more. And he said, do absolutely nothing. You're 35mm. You're that enormous. And I had the humiliation of going into the studio the next day and having to do all my lines again with this, you know, like never felt so embarrassed. And I cried a lot. And he kept saying, it's all right. He said, it's just that you know, you've got to learn not to gurn. But I've gurned all my life since, so he didn't teach me anything.
There you go. Thank God.
Yeah, when I first started, because the weird thing was, because everything I did and have done really, well, not it's been other stuff, but it's been live, and so it's gone. And like I say, you know, like this show, we do it, and then, you know, of course, this one's out there forever. But you know, with a daily breakfast show, it's on its way to Mars and it's gone. So you don't really get to see it, and the only notes you ever get is when someone comes alongside you in television and goes, "Not a word." Like this. What about, you know, it's that telly thing, and you're like, a little bit of you dies, and you think, oh no, I'm never going to work again. But they do say, don't they, that actually you can learn a great deal by watching yourself back. But
I know you should really. I can't though, because I'm a girl.
I used to find that, especially with soaps, I could never watch them as they went out. I'd have to watch them a day later. I felt much safer watching them when they'd been out. Watching them by myself, I wasn't watching it with everybody else.
Yeah.
Why is that? I mean,
in real time, I totally get that. Yeah, totally get that.
No, I felt like I was the only person that was watching it.
Anything that I've ever done pre-recorded, I have I've watched after the fact, like you, not in real time.
Yeah.
And I stay off the Twitter, the twatter, whatever they call it. Oh God,
yes.
I don't touch
the
God. Don't want to know. I'll have a robust, refreshing beverage and just, you know, disappear.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Don't want to know.
Like? Well, we're so sensitive, us terns, aren't we? I'm going to have to spend the next couple of days whilst I'm not on a kayak or trying to find some fish and chips by the river, Googling Debbie Arnold in Indian sex sensation. Yeah.
Please don't.
Are you sure it wasn't an instructional video, Debbie?
Thank you. No, it wasn't. And there was, and strangely enough, we had Stefan Dennis on the show yesterday, and I have a funny feeling that he might have been dubbing it with me. I was
Darling, you could make so much money now.
We did all of these things. There were so many things that we did voiceovers with. I remember do you remember Enrightel? Did you ever know Enrightel, Richard? No. Enrightel was like the top voiceover person.
Yeah.
The top in the sort of 90s. And he and I worked together really all the time. And I remember one day we went along and we did the first ever commercials for mates condoms. And then no one had ever done, we just sort of literally get the script, you go through it, and he went, oh my God, this is for condoms. And we went, wow. So we did this voiceover, and then we walked off to do our next voiceover, and then the next voiceover was for Pampers. And he turned to me and said, well, obviously the mates didn't work very well, did they? It was always the same people. They always used the same, voiceovers. I mean, people were, in those days, they just didn't have, they wanted to get you in there and out as quick as possible. So they always used the people that they could sort of trust. So just used them for everything. He lives in America now. He's absolutely brilliant. It's one of the cleverest voiceover there is.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm surprised you don't know him, Richard.
No, I
Can
don't.
you, Richard, can we please have pictures of you on the kayak as soon as possible?
Yes.
Please. I have to say, Richard, I really recommend it, because I used to do that a lot when I had a house in France years ago. And the thing is, all the French, I'd go out with all our French neighbours kayaking. Well, maybe it's canoeing, I'm not sure actually. But anyway, they would take lots of food with them. And if it rained, they wouldn't stop, and you'd get absolutely drenched. And then the sun would come out, and then you'd sort of warm up and dry out, and you'd carry on. And we used to get to these. Oh, it was fantastic. Well, I thought that at first, but then honestly, it's an amazing experience. And I don't know if they're going to do this, but we used to take sausages and all sorts of sausages.
Here we go.
Here we go with us. Sorry, and cook them on grids. Dig holes and cook them on grids.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's the best thing ever. You're gonna have a great time.
I'm all for paysan and frolicking by the river. I'm worried about the center of gravity because my head's so big.
This is true.
Get in it. So apart from those concerns,
and also you pack your tackle away properly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my tip.
With that, Sherry, I don't think we should carry the show on any longer.
No, I just want to make sure we get pictures.
Is that a knock at the door?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
My tackle is always firmly tucked away with you ladies, because we just discovered from D it may end up griddled.
Griddle.
And I want full pictures to
shrunken.
support every moment, please. Boarding, tackling, sausages, the works.
Yeah, we need to know everything.
And your griddled one, darling.
Standard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love you. Love you. Love you.
Richard,
Love
be
you,
careful.
darling.
Be
Bye,
careful.
darling.
Enjoy. Let us know how you get on.
I will do, ladies.
Bye.
Saporista are proud sponsors of the Wonderbird Show. Treat yourself to the wonderful taste of the Mediterranean, supplied by local artisans.